Boy, there was a fringe benefit of consequence at Hardtner that we didn't know a thing about when I applied and when I signed the contract. My gosh, there was a community hospital, the ACHENBACH hospital. I'm probably confused, but I think that Grandpa or great-grandpa ACHENBACH was Jacob ACHENBACH, and at any rate, the story we heard was that he had made his money in railroading. Evidently his home base was in Hardtner, and he decided to do something to show his appreciation for America and for Hardtner and for Kansas, and built that hospital and endowed it. Boy, now that's a generous man. That's a grateful man. ACHENBACH's name sounds to me like it's probably German, just like I had a German grandma. Little Jacob ACHENBACH, that was a fellow student of Roy's in the first grade that year, and in the second grade the next year, comes from a line of really good people. Anyway, we heard about this and could hardly believe our ears. I think it was just $50 for a family membership, not $50 for Mom and Dad and each of the two kids for $200, but a total of $50 to get to be a member and have full medical service, including hospitalization when needed. Unbelievable. You talk about a friend's benefit. That's really an unbelievable addition to your fiscal situation and your safety situation. Well, the doctor that we saw was Dr. Cheshire. We liked him. Young man, spoke to you on reasonable language that you understood what he was saying. You had no doubt at all, hey, this is a good doctor, and he cares. He's going to really take care of you. Well, it wasn't very long before we also found out that, hey, they're just people. They didn't think they were better than other people. We played a lot of cards with them, shared some meals, shared time with them, liked them both. The wife is a sweetheart. I'm trying to think of her first name, Nadine, I think. And their daughter, that was again, a fellow classmate of Roy's in the first grade, was Barbara. Big, healthy girl. Good student, too. Well, before we left Hardtner, I began to get a little jealous. And being at their home, playing cards and talking about this, that, and the other, it came up that one of the things he was struggling with was whether or not to buy an airplane. He had a nice car. We had a nice car, too. But he had a nice car, and he was debating whether or not to buy an airplane. Well, even then, no real cost compared to now, but even then, you're talking about quite a bit of money. And boy, that bothered me. The difference between my salary, I think maybe my salary might have been $3,750 when I started there, and I suppose I got a little raise the second year. But he had $17,000 a year, if I remember right, guaranteed as a part of the hospital situation. And then if he treated people who did not buy that membership, he could charge them fees directly to him, and it increased his income. I was jealous enough that when we moved on to Hardtner, I gave some serious thought to switching and going for a medical degree. But that's a whole different story. He wasn't the head of the hospital. Dr. Galloway of Anthony, Kansas, yes, the Dr. Galloway that had delivered Donna, I suppose as a young doctor in 1929, was now an older doctor. But he had a reputation where you bring in this young doctor, people not so sure about him, but everybody knew in that part of Kansas that Dr. Galloway was a super doctor. So he was the head of the medical staff. And he did come over from time to time when needed. In fact, Donna likes to tell the story. And, you know, did it really happen? I wasn't there. She wasn't there. But the story that went around was that on one of the trips when Dr. Galloway was needed with a patient in some distress, that he went through one of the small towns between Anthony and Hardtner at a high speed, got stopped, and he told the officer, you know, get right to the point, I've got to go. So the fellow told him, you know, you were speeding such and such speed, this is going to be your fine. And he said, okay, and I'll pay twice that because when I come back through, I'm going to be in a hurry and driving the same speed. Was it true? Don't know. But he had the kind of stature that it could have been true. And that officer probably didn't bother him when he went back through town going the other direction. It's an interesting world. Some do have privileges that the rest of us don't have.